Hi there. Welcome to X Media's 2023 Movember special, presented here from the Expression FM studio. I'm Tom, station manager of XTV, your TV station at the University of Exeter, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Joseph Terry.
Yes, you are joined by myself, Joseph Terry. We're here at the Expression FM studio and really excited for what's going to be, I think, a really special episode here, as a special episode for a special episode should be. And we're going to mark what's a great festival of men's mental health, that is Movember. But Tom, I want you to sort of give us an outline of what we're going to talk about over this episode.
So Joe, on today's show, we're going to talk about what Movember means to us, talk about men's mental health, our male role models, and most importantly, the moustache itself.
Exactly. So with that in mind, and hopefully you can kind of enjoy this episode and really kind of get into the vibes, get into the feel of what is arguably, I think this is the most chilled out radio show I've ever done, has to be said, and I'm enjoying that myself. So you know what, it's good to have some new people in the studio too. Some new people here in the Express studio. One of them is a very well-known face. However, we've got some new faces that are doing their first show on the air. So to whatever camera you're closest to, my friends, introduce yourselves and introduce what you do in the amazing family that is X Media.
I'm Laurie Harbord. I work with Photosoc. I'm the publicity sec. I was the president last year, got Photosoc involved in X Media. And I'd like to get involved in all of the events, writing poorly spelt pub quizzes, and generally getting involved in X Media.
Hi, I'm Oscar, president of Photosoc. I've succeeded. Laurie, am I talking to this one?
Yeah,
you can talk to that one.
Talk to that one in the corner. Yeah.
I'm also confused of what camera to talk into, but that's okay.
Go for it. Talk to the corner.
Yeah, thank you. I know what to say. We do Photosoc, we do photography, unsurprisingly. Go for it.
Harry, yourself?
So I'm Harry Craig, making my very first appearance on Expression, but I am deputy editor of Expose, which is our student newspaper, and I've been in this position since June. Really enthusiastic to get involved with the amazing array of X Media societies we have, and work really collaboratively with everyone else on this panel, because it's a great talented group of people, and also pushing the boat out as one of the few male members of Expose and one of the few non-English students on Expose. So I'm really helping the diversity of Expose.
And hello, I'm James Allen, the social secretary of Expression FM, and according to our X Media Movember page, which you should go and donate to, I am the team captain, because it was my profile that set it up. But it's been a real pleasure doing loads of X Media Movember stuff over the last month, and of course we've still got more to come.
You couldn't guess that James was the one person who's done radio before, could you? In the way that he was doing his voice, you couldn't tell, could you? But Tom, do you want to do the honours for me?
I would love to. So without further ado, let's celebrate the men around us and ask them most important questions and do our bit for men's mental health. X Media presents their Movember 2023 special.
Thank you for joining us then. So let's go straight into this special episode, and I think we're going to kick off on a light-hearted tone, because sometimes discussions like this, they can get a bit dark and a bit sad, but you know what, this is as much about celebrating and having fun than it is about kind of talking about the real issues that we need to talk about. So I'm going to talk about this, for example, and it's a segment that sort of I've coined a name for it, and again, you can tell me if it's a bad name, but just go for it regardless. So it's a conversation that's kind of close to some of our lips here on this table even, and I mean that in the most literal sense. And this is going to be the famous, or kind of moreover infamous, Movember mustache. Sort of Tom has come in here with an amazing mustache. I've tried my hardest to copy him, and well, quite frankly, failed miserably. But let's move past my sort of short man syndrome, second man syndrome about my mustache compared to Tom. But it is the trademark of this event, and it's made Movember iconic, I think, and I think most people would agree with that. So, despite how far in quality mine and Tom's on it, we've got to talk about it regardless, even if I find it, well, frankly, embarrassing that mine is so poor. And let's go with this name, and sort of, I want you to tell me around the table, kind of, if it sounds rubbish, just let me know. But how does the Mustache Memoir sound? How does that sound? Harry, you're nodding your head. How does that sound?
I love it. I spend my life writing things, and probably a bit more of the writing than the speaking than most other people on this panel.
Yeah.
And I think I always love a good bit of alliteration.
Good stuff.
I can't pass the material.
It works well.
Do you agree, Laurie? Do you agree?
I do agree.
Good stuff, James.
I mean, as an English student, I should be like trying to come up with something better. But I had like an essay to do over the last week. I'm all burnt out. I couldn't think of anything better.
Honestly, James, I've been seeing many expose editors a bit too stressed in the office this week with that English essay. So I understand where you're coming from there, mate.
It could be worse. You could have had a press week on top of that as well.
Yeah, imagine that.
But Tom, do you want to open up our discussion then about these infamous mustaches?
Yeah, so the first question I have to you guys is, why do we pick the moustache to be the symbol of men's mental health?
Why the mustache? Why the mustache? Why did it?
It looks nice.
Well, yeah, maybe that's the aesthetic answer, but sort of why the mustache? Is it because it's funny, or is it because it's a sort of tongue-in-cheek way of showing quote unquote masculinity? Why? Tell me.
I'd say I agree with that. There's all sorts of kind of like layers of masculinity to it, and it's like, oh yeah, you're a macho man with your big mustache. You're
sure.
tickling the ladies with your mustache. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
there you go.
Movember.
You've got it.
Is it's
Say
something.
tickling the ladies.
It's for some reason that was always what comes to my head whenever anybody's like twirling their mustache.
You're made for radio, Laurie. Honestly, made for radio. I'll say that again.
It's coming with the best phrase possible, and
I
it's
think
kind
it's spot
of
on, though. I think it's spot on.
all about like, oh, this is like maybe we can take that being masculine is also being healthy in ourselves and taking the time to look after ourselves.
Self-confident as well.
Yeah, I'm not
being
confident about my
self-confident.
mustache. Somebody
No,
said
nor am I.
I
It
had
looks
to,
good. I think
somebody
it looks
said
good.
I had to
you
start
look
layering it, so I was in front of like the mirror, just like, ooh,
Yeah,
trying
sure.
to mess with it, and then I just took out a massive patch out the left. So I'm hoping nobody sees that.
Nice. Anyone else agree on the panel? Sort of why the mustache? Why the mustache, James? You've grown
I've
a
grown
beautiful,
quite something quite nice,
beautiful,
I
voluptuous
say,
mustache, tell me.
people, nobody said I look like J.K. Simmons, which I feel is quite a disappointment.
That's
but
nice. Yeah, sure.
But even still, I do think it is like, here's that tongue-in-cheek way of showing masculinity. It does look a little goofy, but it just says, no, I'm confident in how I look. I am very glad that I have this over my neck, and I don't care what anyone says about it. It's a nice little message.
Do you think it's different if you don't grow a mustache all year round like myself, and you could have maybe tried to stay clean-shaven all the time? Because for me, this feels terrible. Because for me, it's force of habit. Right, wake up, clean-shaven straight away, and then I've had to force myself to not shave the bit on my upper lip.
I've been staring at my dissertation, just like fiddling.
Yeah, honestly. Same thing though. You just do this, and for the camera, you just sort of instinctively keep moving your fingertips across your upper lip. Harry, you can't really talk because you didn't even grow a mustache. But...
Yeah, I must admit. I did my best.
You did
I see some hairs.
I'm going to need like
if I'm brutally honest,
a microscope.
I did not want some little, just like terribly.
Yeah, but you've got to wait
hairs.
it out. You've got to wait it out before you go again.
Joe, I know you're a big fan of cars, so I don't know. You might understand this reference,
sure,
but there's an episode of old Top Gear with the classic trio
Proper old Top Gear,
where they talk about how distracting it is to wear a moustache and how they can't imagine going around like
with
that
the
all the time.
rozzers, yeah.
And honestly, I don't think I mean, as Mr. Clarkson said in that show, how the hell did Nigel Mansell win a world title with that moustache? I mean, I can't concentrate on anything when I've just got a little bit of stubble. So
I mean, Nigel Mansell won those titles just through sheer Birmingham accent like this. Sheer Birmingham accent, my name's Nigel Mansell. But on that point, we're going to move on. And how have you guys got on growing your moustache? So, James, you took the brave decision to nearly go clean shaven on your beard, as it were, to sort of let the sort of handlebar mustache show itself in all its glory. And sort of, what was going through your head when you made that brave decision?
Oh well, I feel like the case is though I'm experienced when it comes to facial hair. Like I was able to grow a moustache from the age of like 13. I mean, it didn't look good.
Whoa,
I mean, you don't want to see. I just put my phone away. You do not want to see what that looked. Actually, it didn't look too bad.
They're safety embarrassment of seeing it.
Yeah, it was but it's actually a case of when I started growing it, the school I was at, they didn't have rules for facial hair because they were expecting no one to grow it out. Yeah, and as soon as they get to my next school, they're just like, mate.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure.
But even still, like this is definitely the best moustache I think I've ever grown, and I definitely think the case is here in third year. I know next year it's going to be all world of work, so I feel like it's a case of I don't know when the next time I'm going to be able to do something this a little bit goofy is. So I thought take the opportunity now, really
Take
go
it on the
for
chin
it,
or on the lip.
and just take it on the lip, nice.
Go on the lip.
And just enjoy it is the case.
Good idea.
And it's a case of I've gotten just a lot of people really liked it. I mean, I mean, like my family were, of course, the first ones to take the mick out of me for it. Of course,
As they should have been. As they should have been.
Is that right?
Because that's what family are for, isn't it, James? Laurie, yourself, kind of how did that go for you?
How did that go for me? Yeah,
kind of,
family.
to be fair, you're doing pretty well so far. I have to say, even if it's kind of getting to the end of the month, doing a pretty good job and sort of
Put in a
kind
full
of-
shift.
Did it have to kind of how was it going through the early phase of growing a Movember mustache when you're thinking this looks absolutely rubbish, but I've got to hang through for the next week?
There was like the stage of denial, there was a stage of anger, there was a stage of acceptance. I was really working through it. I've never actually had upper lip hair this long before. It's coming out in all sorts of colours. I had no idea what was
It's
coming out.
happened to be that. Cause I've every time I've been shaving my beard now, I've realised there are a few more ginger hairs coming through now, which is I don't know what I think about that really.
I was
'cause-
hoping for a nice ginger beard, and then
Yeah,
the
sure.
more I was growing it out, it was looking like it was going to come out like jet black and very confusing.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, they do their thing.
it is
don't
what it
they?
is.
They do their thing. And kind of Oscar yourself now. Sort of tell me how have you done? It's looking amazing. I'm sure our viewers can see. It's looking beautiful.
Thank you. And
Only
I
the
guess you
headshot.
might have noticed, but for the audio listeners who cannot see me.
Shocker. The audio listeners
I
can't
know.
see. Yeah,
Audio
shocker.
listeners love
I
you,
would sort
Seth.
of read out all the pixels, but
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
but I've got a beard as well as a moustache.
Yeah. I was gonna say. So I was gonna ask you a question about this. Are you disqualified from calling it a proper Movember mustache if you don't shave your beard?
I would say yes. I think.
So would you say you've
Absolutely.
been disqualified?
I think probably. I have. Unfortunately.
At least you've admitted it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something at least.
This one goes
It's
out.
nice though.
Yeah, I just
still
couldn't.
very luxurious.
I couldn't think. I sort of thought about it, and I thought about a moustache, and I was like, I'm not sure I can hack that. It's also it's application season if you're a third year. So
Sure.
Seeing your beard
Oh,
makes
yeah.
me
We all
miss
know.
my beard. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I've been missing
Yeah.
it since the 31st of October.
I hadn't even thought about that with all my video interviews, just like speaking into the mic and looking at my. I'm just like, oh my god, I've got a little cat around my
Put it
top lip. I sure hope they're not.
Stick it on the LinkedIn.
They say
profile
all
photo.
that stuff like, "I'll fill in these questions for bonus information. This won't affect you in the hiring
Yeah,
process."
sure.
The moustache totally does.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Stick it on the LinkedIn. The LinkedIn headshot of you with an amazing
nice
mustache.
suit and a nice little tash.
Yeah, and Tom, you actually took the brave decision yourself to get rid of the beard and go full mustache, didn't you? And kind of tell me, well, firstly, how sad were you when you first saw yourself in the mirror without the beard? And
It was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
I'm not surprised by
I mean,
that, yeah.
I did cheat though because with Movember you're supposed to go completely clean shaven and then grow the tash.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I didn't want to, embarrass myself or, do anything like public indecency with just my
yeah, sure, yeah.
pure shaved face.
Yeah, pure.
Because I'm not shaved fully since 2020, I think it is, and it's probably for the best.
Okay.
Wherever else is,
I've just gone back the years. Yeah, okay, yeah, that is a long time.
It is.
That's a long
That's
time.
a
fair.
lockdown moment.
That is a proper lockdown cut moment.
You
the
grew
worst
it as
thing is
like COVID defense.
The worst thing was it wasn't even COVID. It was when we first came out of COVID lockdowns, and I think it was the September. We went to a bowling alley with some friends.
Yeah,
and this is this
sure.
disgusting picture of my face, of a clean shaved face. I'm like, what was I doing?
Nice.
What was I thinking?
Now we pass over to the only person in the room who has not grown a mustache, and sorry to shame
sorry.
sorry
I
to
mean-
shame you, Harry, but
If it was just audio, I would have been able to get away with it
Yeah.
and pretend I had this great
are
moustache.
you feeling
but-
like you're missing out?
No, I mean, kind of, but at the same time, you know
Never
what?
too late.
I know.
It's never too
I
late,
don't
my
know how
friends.
much of a moustache I'll be able to grow in 7 days.
That is
Mind you,
true.
Tom did give us all a shock in that press week at the start of term when he walked past the window. I thought, who the hell is that walking
It's-
past?
yeah.
Who's that who wants to get into the expose
He's gone
office?
full. He's gone full Top Gun, hasn't he?
But no, I mean, I would love to be able to grow a moustache. No, I'm joking. I can grow a moustache, but yeah.
Well, I
think-
can't. I mean, I can't save my life. Here I am with kind of, hopefully, as you can see, looking beautiful in the camera lens.
It's quite
Trying my
interesting.
hardest.
So it's quite interesting to talk about mustaches, but who do you guys think has the best mustache you've ever seen?
What a segue, Tom. What a
What's
segue.
an iconic mustache?
I mean, can I say sponsor himself? Can I?
That's cheating, isn't it?
No. I'd go Mr. T.
Mr. T.
Mr. T's pretty
yeah.
good. Mr. T or Nigel Mansell, one of the two.
I was going to say, I have to come back and to Nigel Mansell. Mind you, one of my old next door neighbours used to have this incredible. There's a proper name for it, but one with proper. He'd always twirl it, and it looked. That was something special.
Special stuff.
Yeah,
special
that
stuff.
was always that always gave you a smile when you'd see him.
What do you
I'm
think?
I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of a specific person, and I can't. But I'm sort of. My mind is going to those old World War II fighter pilot.
Oh yeah.
photographs.
Yeah.
Sepia photos.
There's also
Yeah.
the poster. Is it the World War One poster?
Yeah, what
we had it in the quiz,
Lord
didn't we?
Kitchener.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm hoping our
Kitchener
quiz.
one,
I'm hoping the quiz
Lord
round
Kitchener.
that myself
Let's
and
get
Joshua Smith put together for Expose is giving
Yes.
people a bit of inspiration here.
Yeah. So you're thinking of the iconic Kitchener mustache, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
you're
exactly what.
I mean,
Yeah,
sort of
you're thinking of
exactly
the
what
iconic
Tom's
Kitchener
thinking of.
mustache.
It's
Yes.
incredible they kept it up with all that was going on.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, to be fair, kind of how many spare razors were there lying around in the trenches? To be fair, Laurie, yourself. kind of
I've
hit
seen
me.
some amazing moustaches from our Photosoc members showing up at pub crawls
Nice.
recently. There was
Name any
an
names?
amazing pair. I don't want to name names in case they don't
come
want to be
on.
called out, but they've got a secret
We're
admirer.
celebrating it. We're not calling them out, mate. We're celebrating. Come on.
Well, they didn't actually start the moustaches in Movember. That's the thing.
Oh.
They just
cheating.
went into it with the moustache, and I think that's got any. It's got no dedication to it. You know, I'm going to name drop
started
them
on
now.
the 31st
One
of
of them is called
October.
Scott, and I've forgotten the other name.
Now I know your name, Scott.
It's illegal. It's illegal to start going before the month starts. And James, yourself?
Oh, yeah. Well, the only one that's coming to mind at the moment. Oh no, I already mentioned it earlier. J.K. Simmons. You know.
what a beautiful mustache
he
as
is
well. Oh.
But another one I've mentioned is sort of the Hercule Poirot mustache,
Yes.
Yeah.
nice and big, handlebar. You know, you definitely like. If I'm there, I'm a detective. I'm trying to solve a murder. I'd definitely just be twiggling it all day, thinking. Yeah, so
What
we could
kid
have done
you
this.
You guys got
Yeah.
names for your moustaches? I didn't know that existed. I thought
you
there
have
was-
you have to
You
name
have a
it.
name. You name him. So
like
No,
a
it's
little-
a-
like
it's a
coffee or
style.
something.
Yeah,
It's a style.
Mo the
What's my
moustache.
moustache style? What we're going for? Just like adolescent or something?
Well,
like
to be fair, most people are just clean shaven like myself. And I can tell you something, listeners and viewers. The first day of December, I am shaving it off as soon as I can.
Oh, this
because
is
I
your olden
cannot
weekend.
I think that's live stream worthy.
Yes, I cannot
yes.
wait to get this thing off. I love Movember, but this looks rubbish. Trust me.
You need to
this
start
looks
growing your
rubbish.
Santa beard for Christmas now.
Yes, exactly.
I went through my phase last year of going without shaving it, and I realised I just looked rubbish.
How
So
far
now,
did you get into it?
Oh, it was at least a month. It was at least a month, and then I went home, and my mum said to me, in no uncertain terms, Joseph, shave.
shave that now.
Because my mum has an aversion to any facial hair, generally, just any facial hair. The funniest thing was, we were on the phone call at the start of the month, and my mum said to me, "Oh, are you doing Movember?" And then I just saw her face sort of drop. Her face just dropped. I was like, "Oh, are you doing Movember, Joseph?" "Oh, great." And so her face just dropped. Love you, Mum, by the way. Love you so much. And thank you for the birthday presents just come in the post.
I've got to
as well.
give a little shout out to my friend's mum who called him randomly while we were hanging out. And,
Yeah, sure.
And she said, "You have 2 weeks to shave the moustache," and then she hung up. it was quite brutal.
What
It was
was
like-
2 weeks to shave it up.
There must be a thing with
I
mums
like
having an
you, I
aversion
like
to
your
facial
family.
hair. The amount of time my mum berates my brother's
Really?
facial hair all
Really?
the time, and anytime my dad goes without shaving, like for a day, it'll be like, "You need to shave."
Really?
I don't know
Well,
what it is with mums and an
Well,
aversion to facial hair.
For me, it's because my dad. He's always been clean shaven for as long as I've known him. So I think it's just a thing. Oh, kind of dad was doing it, so you may as well just follow your dad and do it anyways. But why are we talking about this? Why am I talking about my dad being clean shaven? Tom, drag us
should we
out of
move
this.
on? Should we move
Drag
on
us
to-
out of this pit that I've just let ourselves into, and let's go on to our second
Let's move on
segment.
to something more
please.
serious.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, as we all know, Movember is about raising awareness about men's mental health and what we can all do for ourselves and for the people around us to make sure we don't lose another man to suicide and mental illness. With that in mind, and given how Movember is often when we look to give advice to each other, man to man, talking about techniques to cope and soothe your mental health is important.
So with that in mind, Tom, and beautifully said as well, for someone who's doing your first Expression FM broadcast hosting show, you're doing a mighty sterling job. So well done, my friends. But with that in mind, around the panel, what do we do to sort of help with our mental health? What do we do to cope sometimes? And what techniques do you think you could tell some of our listeners and some of our viewers as well, sort of what they do to sort of help their mental health? Who's going to start off? Who wants to Who wants to?
I'll take the
James,
plunge.
go for it.
But
Go for it.
Gaming.
Plunge. Gaming.
Not to be completely,
Which video game?
but you know,
Which video game
a
are we talking
lot,
about?
a lot. It could be literally anything from Call of Duty to Dark Souls. But the case is,
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. That's
actually, you know what, that's the
de-stressing
opposite.
you. That's de-stressing you.
Trust me,
Dark
it's,
Souls.
it's a case of it
Dark Souls,
it stresses
really?
me out. But then, but when
My guy
I
got
win, I
nerves of
just,
steel.
but then I get to the end, I'm like, I kind of just want to go back in. I felt really good doing it.
Dark Souls. Really?
James,
Or
I had a
Elden
question. Are
Ring.
you a masochist if you think like Dark Souls is
Correct. But even still, I just want to open up to the larger point of just keeping busy. It's the case. Even if
Yeah,
it's just
have to agree.
playing a video game, doing Expression FM shows,
Working
doing
another
expose articles, doing a job,
Working a job,
even
yeah,
working
sure.
a job. Just keeping yourself busy, keeping yourself doing stuff. You know, you'll realize it just feels healthier when you feel active, but also at the
Yeah.
same time temper that.
Yes.
Know when to relax. Know when you're doing a little too much.
Don't overdo it.
Exactly.
Don't
Sometimes,
overdo
but a case is, you know, when you feel you definitely need to relax, you'll feel you've earned it if you're keeping busy. Is what I say.
Certainly, and I have to agree. And also, particularly on things like sort of keeping fit in terms of your physical health as well, is so important sometimes into trying to sort of cope with your mental health. And Laurie, do you agree? Sort of, what would you give to our listeners as sort of a good coping strategy, as it were?
Well, the main thing that comes to mind when you were talking about like taking the time and knowing that you can't do something all the time, it reminds me of a sign I saw once. I was like, if you don't schedule maintenance time for your equipment will schedule maintenance time for you.
Now that is the most photo sock joke I've ever heard in my life.
You will you'll just be doing something.
I love photo sock, but that is the most photo sock joke I've ever heard in my
First
life.
response. My camera does not need any maintenance. That was I bought that second
man.
hand, well
Good
used.
man.
Absolutely cannot.
On the
does not
cheap.
falter.
On the cheap.
Damages the floor when you drop it. But
Good
but
man.
with humans are a bit more complicated.
Yeah,
And
just a bit, yeah.
sometimes
Funnily
you
enough.
find that like you'll just be doing stuff and you'll be like keeping yourself busy, and suddenly you just sit on your bed and you just accidentally like just kind of sit and think and do nothing for like an hour, and you're like, wait, why did I do that? But maybe that's just kind of something you needed to do. Your brain needed that time just to chill out and do nothing. And sometimes doing nothing is extremely important, whether it's just sitting and scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
There are better ways to do nothing. Social media has its pros and cons, but whatever you
Yeah.
need, that kind of shuts yourself down.
Social
a little
media is
bit.
an important thing as well, because you can use it to relax, but also you've got to be careful with it, because you end up getting stuck in a loop of just doom scrolling, don't you, for fun?
Good
Oscar,
old doom scroll.
yeah, the classic doom scroll. Oscar, yourself, kind of what jumps out to you as good techniques and strategies?
I mean, I think absolutely keeping busy is super important. And also, I think, it's so easy to say no when a friend asks you to go to an event or like there's a party going on. It's so easy to say no. And I think sometimes it's important to make sure you do go to these things. And, like, I'm going to plug Photosock, but we've got a lot of events.
Plug him as much as you want.
Expression, so you
I
go
mean,
ahead.
that's Photosock events.
at the end. Then.
Come to all the
This
Photosock events.
is an Expedia event, so you're more than welcome to plug them.
Yeah, I'm going to a birthday party in London tomorrow. That's exciting.
Good stuff.
I think Tinos is listening.
Oh my
Apparently.
gosh.
So if he
Whoa.
is listening, then
Shout out to Tino.
Hello.
he needs to pick a venue, quite frankly.
Go for it.
Poor form
So,
from Tino's.
That's poor form.
Awful.
Oh, London. That's up to Tinos. Who is listening, I think.
That's doxing.
So, we'll be
Can't drop
waiting.
the
We'll
pin
get
that
back to
easily,
you
can
later
you?
in the radio shows for where he
Yeah,
picks.
there you go, spot
But-
on. Harry, yourself, kind of what jumps out to you as something you do to keep your mental health in check?
Yeah, I mean, kind of echoing the points that a lot of people have said already. I think friendship and companionship is really important. I mean, just for a small personal anecdote, around this time last year was, as anyone who knows me well back then, was not a particularly good time for me with some, personal friendship issues and social issues. But actually, what was incredibly valuable for me, and I think this is where social media ties into it, is that we can berate social media rightfully for the impact it has on our mental health, but I think it can really provide an incredibly valuable form of companionship when you can, for example, we've all at university at the moment, we all know what it's like to have friends who probably live a very long way away. We don't see them for months on end. I can think of a lot of friends from home who I don't get to see as often as I'd like to, as often as I used to, seeing them every day at school. And actually, it's something that I think we learned during the pandemic as well, that social media and the internet can be an incredible form of staying close to people and staying in touch with people without necessarily being around that person. And that's certainly that companionship that I felt virtually from friends last year was a massive help in getting me through what happened, through sort of problems I had last year. And I think, this is something I'm sure you will also appreciate, Joseph, is things like sport and watching.
Yeah,
Well, as much
definitely.
as doing sport. I mean, I can't say how much watching Formula One and being a Ferrari fan helps my
Yeah.
mental health, but
Yeah.
it does provide,
Opposite.
an escape.
Opposite, really, isn't
We've
it?
got another one on the table.
I'm not sure waking up at 6 a.m. for Vegas last weekend and stressing out about a Ferrari strategy was the best thing for my mental health. But at the end
Maybe
of the day,
not. Maybe
I
not,
think
my
saying
friend. Maybe
what you
not.
said, James, it gives you a way to distract yourself. I think it's really
Definitely.
important.
I would even sort of say when it comes to like Instagram and doom scrolling, I've always feel it's a case of step away from Instagram, because it's a case of you will probably find people having a better life at that moment than you are at that when you're watching it. It's like, admit, it's just your downtime. You don't have to be they're there, in
Why aren't you in
Dubai,
Greece
Abu
right
Dhabi.
now?
Why aren't you in Greece right now? You're working. You have a life here. That's why you're not there. You need that. You just need to have that little reality check at times. And just
There are
just
24
say, yeah.
hours in a day, to quote a now infamous phrase online. Did you know there are 24 hours in a day? I never knew that, my friends. I never knew that myself. And Tom, what do you do to sort of deal with your mental health sometimes, and sort of what do you do to stay in check, as it were? Tell me.
I'll take what Oscar said about being busy, James about social, friends, and also sports. I mean, being a big football fan and
Bring it
being
all
a
together.
Liverpool fan is actually pretty good. Pretty helpful at the moment.
Imagine.
Not what I hear from a lot of my Liverpool supporting mates, but
Well, they must be watching a different team. But my two things would be a routine and then exercise. I think I can't tell you the amount.
Exercise is massive.
Yeah,
massive.
I can't tell you the amount of times I've woken up feeling a bit miserable. I don't want to do this. Then gone to the gym and I feel like I'm top of the world.
Definitely. No, I understand that. And kind of what else? Kind of, do you look to motivational content online? Sort of, I know you're a good fan of, and trust me, I'm not saying this to take the mickey. I'm big fan of Mr. Stay Hard himself, David Goggins. Sort of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you look at social media as a sort of a positive outlet, as it were, to sort of get that inspiration sometimes?
It depends on what you're using. You're doing with social media. I think it can be used for good, creative, good ways to get inspiration for creativity. The amount of short videos that people make on TikTok or Instagram Shorts, they're pretty good. And the styles, like you guys know, like the camera angles and stuff, and taking photos of different things, it sort of helps with inspiring for that. But I don't know. I don't really use social media myself. I'm only use it for XTV. Got to plug in the best TV
Yeah,
station.
plug in. XTV, where you're watching
everyone's
this
getting
right
that
now.
And use it to
Yeah,
follow
media.
Photoshop Instagram, follow that on
Expression
on
FM
Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah,
mention
Tom only opens up Instagram to look at the
Just to
updates
see.
Yeah.
from Photoshop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Watching it right
how
now
do
on
you know that?
XTV. Yeah, watching right now. Hello, my friends. Hello.
Yeah, Photoshop, following XTV.
Yeah, follow on. But yeah, you're spot on there, Tom. Do you think that healthy relationship with social media actually helps your mental health sometimes?
Yeah, I think it does. I think you need to take a break from it once in a while if you're not using it with an intention.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Sure.
we use it here for our societies and stuff. And
Yeah.
I know that's a good way of understanding what our societies are doing in terms of
Yeah.
events, and also like any projects that you've got that you've
Definitely.
done. So I
Definitely.
think using social media with intent and also taking time to have breaks
Yeah.
from it as well helps.
No, I respect
'Cause
that.
that doomsday scrolling
Oh,
when you're having
yeah.
a bad day as well, and you're seeing everyone living a good life. And then you get the
algorithm's
random
deadly.
ads and stuff. You're like,
The
"Oh,
algorithm's
what's going on?"
deadly, isn't it? Because you've just got 1,000,001 clips of people going on holiday and 1,000,001 clips of people in relationships, and there you are, kind of single alone in your
That's what
in
you
your
get.
student house.
I think there was a day I think it was in October, it's like World Couples Day or something, and everyone was
Yeah.
just doing that Instagram sticker repost thing, and I just sat there and thought, really? This is not, why?
That was
why?
a World Couples
Why-
Day. I might have missed that.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
my
are.
God.
Why can't there be a World Singles
Yeah.
Day, where we
There
can
you
all-
are.
I just get Ryan Gosling memes.
Yeah. But sort of, there you are. There you are in your student house eating the fourth bowl of pasta you've had all week for dinner. Single, messaging
Meeting's
people
broken.
online.
Broke student. Yeah.
Broke student, and you've got Hinge on one of your kind of opened apps on your phone. You're just there thinking,
Man.
what can a man do in the modern world?
So Joe, you
Just
you
Hinge,
asked
okay.
everyone else. What about yourself?
Yes. What would I? Yeah. So this is interesting. So for me, what I do a lot. It's going to sound stupid, but I actually tell myself to stop. Because if anyone knows me, and it's probably not surprised to know that I'm someone who's kind of who bounces off the wall, as it were. Kind of, I give off that energy regardless of whether I'm sitting doing something calm or really energetic. But I actually have to tell myself to stop, because I do way too much and I get very obsessive about these things, particularly work, even expression to a certain degree. So I have to tell myself to actually have some fun and to actually stop sometimes. So 9 times out of 10, that means, for example, so yesterday I'd done a commentary and then I came in here because I was feeling the energy, feeling the vibes, came in, went and edited, and I said, you know what, Joseph, stop. You're going home at 7:30. You're setting a hard timer there and you are walking home. That's it. You're not hanging around for half an hour more to finish the job. You're doing it tomorrow. And I have to set myself pretty hard deadlines on that because if I didn't, I would work 24 hours a day. That sounds stupid, but I would. I would work for that long. And it's about trying to just take care of yourself because there's nothing inherently wrong about working bloody hard and trying to be really successful. That isn't bad for mental health. What's bad for mental health is when you end up setting goals and then when you meet that goal, you're a wreck. In the words of Tyson Fury, when Tyson Fury won his world title, the first words he said to his dad, he said it to multiple interviews, were, I know I'm going to be depressed for the next 2 years because I've just got to my goal and I don't know what I'm doing now. And I think that shows to you kind of the pitfalls you get sometimes when you go to reaching goals and targets like that. So that's one thing that helps me. And for me, it's music. For as much as I'm a sort of semi-professional amateur shouty man at sports games these days, and Harry Craig is well aware of this, having been graced by my presence at the varsity game at Sandy Park. But I'm a creative at heart. I'm a creative at heart. So for me, it's chucking on some old Elvis Presley, chucking on some old 50s folk, chucking on some even kind of what was I listening to recently? I was listening to some new hip hop, some new rap, and it's just listening to music and dancing and just enjoying the vibes really. So yeah, kind of just tell yourself to stop sometimes, my friends. Please, you will not get anything better about doing the extra half an hour's worth of reading when you're kind of 5 coffees down and kind of buzzing, bouncing off the walls, as it were.
You do your reading. You do your reading.
Yeah, imagine actually turning up to seminars doing my reading. Imagine that. I wonder. I've loved that chat. You know what? And are we going to cross to our third segment now? And I want you to kind of introduce this, Tom, because I want you to build your confidence because you've done an amazing job so far. I'm used to this. I'm used to doing all this stuff here, but sort of I want you to shine.
Well,
so, Tom.
I'm hoping the cameras don't pick up the sweat underneath my armpit.
There's a
You
reason.
wore the correct shirt for
Yeah,
this.
there is a reason why I took my jumper off earlier on because I was thinking that's going to get warm at some point. But Tom, enough about our kind of our sweat patches and just go for it.
So,
Hit me.
So let's talk about what's been going on around campus over the last month to celebrate Movember. So the Exeter University sports clubs have been celebrating Movember with pride, and more guild societies are following suit. So, example, X Media, for the last couple of weeks we did a quiz on Monday. We did a joint collaboration with Salsa Society, which was, if you'd like to see me dance, go on to XTV's TikTok. It's quite embarrassing.
And who couldn't want to see Swanson doing salsa?
I've heard you've been back a couple of times since, Tom, as well.
Yeah, I actually, do you know what's funny?
He's a member.
I did actually buy a membership.
He's
You
got
know,
a membership.
I went to a salsa lesson, and I'm hoping to go next Wednesday as well because they're very, very lovely people, your housemates.
And how is
Thank you.
How is Kate dealing with this, given the fact that Kate Pigram, who is a former Expression alumni, host of the not so award-winning If You See Kate, but isn't Kate sort of tied at the hip to ballroom and not salsa?
So she does ballroom as her main dance.
Discipline.
Yeah, her
Discipline,
main
there
discipline.
you go,
That's the way of putting it. And I actually came to find out that it's actually an arch rival. Of
Yeah.
ballroom. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
no.
gonna be-
I'm still
You've
happy to join
declared
salsa.
war now.
Moreover, I'm just thinking over the sight of 2 pristine, disciplined dancers, kind of both for training, but kind of both on different ends of the spectrum. You've got ballroom and
I hope you're not
salsa.
looking at me. I'm not that disciplined as a dancer.
You know,
I think Tom, from what I saw at the first taster we did, I think you were
You're underselling
good.
yourself, my friend.
You were picking it up quite well.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
We're
underselling
setting
yourself,
up a
my
weird
friend.
version of Black Swan here.
Oh,
I've
we
not
are.
actually seen Black Swan.
What a pun! What a pun, my friend.
Maybe this could give way to another X Media idea. We could do a X Media Strictly
Yes.
come X Media.
Well, I know that
Oh,
the sports
no.
clubs do a lot of that. I think it was American football did the salsa club collab. I think it was last. Well, that was that was Valentine's in February, and they did salsa class, which was good fun. But you're spot on there, Tom, and other clubs, other guilds started doing that as well. Sort of SLX Media, they had the Film Sock collab, they had the collab with Salsa, and on top of that, other guilds started doing it as well. So, firstly, what have you seen on campus over the last month here on the panel, and how important is it for you that there is so much being done in terms of events and fun charity events for Movember? How important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually just been today editing our back page for sport this week.
Good man.
My
good
last
man.
act as acting sport editor, hopefully.
Yes.
Well, not hopefully, because I've absolutely loved it.
I'm sorry for putting you in that
Oh,
position
mate,
in the first place.
it's perfectly fine. I've loved taking over, and actually quite gutted to be leaving the role to just be a deputy, as if that was. But no, I've actually been putting together our back page today, which I hope some of you will be reading next week. But
How could they not be, Harry? How could they not be? Come on.
It's a celebration of all the great things that have gone on, that especially the AU societies have been doing for Movember this week. And I mean, first of all, we need to push up and get first place nationally.
We need to beat Nottingham.
We need to beat Nottingham. I am
you're
not
right.
letting Nottingham beat Exeter. That would be embarrassing for us.
It would be,
but,
yes.
Besides the point, I think it's been really heartening to see what a lot of the societies have been doing. I mean, I've been seeing. I mean, I wish I was less busy with deadline season, that I could go along to a couple of these. But I mean, I know yourself. You really enjoyed the swim off yesterday.
Yes, that was great fun yesterday. That'll be out on XTV in sometime soon after this has been or after before this.
Well,
And
it's too many lists to be edited.
yes. Well, it'll be at least out on Expression as an audio. But yeah, that was really cool fun. Fun charity events. And what else have you seen on campus, Harry? Though.
Well, I mean, the Olympics is always a
that was really good fun.
And I mean, shout out to our very hardworking editor-in-chief Annabelle. I think she's told me she's going along to the Great Swim Off or the Great Dip in Exmouth next week.
Yeah, the Great Dip. Yeah.
So I mean, that'll be an incredible way to round
really
off,
cool.
round
It's
off
cool.
November. I mean, that'll be bloody freezing. I will be honest.
Yes.
I will be honest.
And we
I don't
also
think
saw
I could brave
people.
that.
I mean, we also saw people braving the shade. Our very own alumni secretary here at the station, the Society's employability officer at the Guild, one and only Reece Wallace as well, looking like prime Wayne Rooney now these days. Wayne Rooney.
He's gone a lot.
Yeah, it's either Wayne Rooney, Sean Dyche, or Agent 47. It's one of those
we've
three.
also gotten Walter White and Lex Luthor.
Say my name.
What's the fun?
Say my name. Oscar, what have you seen on campus, and what's kind of struck you as sort of why it's so important to have these events?
I mean, I think it's just sort of speaking from personal experience. The sports events have been just super fun. I know we did the
so
Bentsville together. Some of us here.
That's the one I missed out as well. Yeah.
Which you managed to, well, as always, in your own clumsy sense, cause an injury.
Oh yeah.
No, you did.
Headbutt somene's jaw.
That girl did not make it out well.
No, I think she told me 2 words that I can't repeat.
She looked
In the words of Expression
one of them
Sport
off?
lingo, yes. In the words of Expression Sport lingo, that is some housery. Connect the dots. But Oscar, yourself.
Yeah, no, and I am now part of that society, so that was great fun, and I think it's sort of introducing you also.
Yeah,
Try not
indoctrinated.
to headbutt someone this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only Thomas.
We'll see
that
about
has
that.
issue.
Only Tom's got the issue. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's introducing people to new things. I would never have thought of playing that before, and so sort of being not forced, but like
No, I understand.
encouraged to go.
Yeah. What else have you seen? What have you seen outside of the sports teams, as it were, sort of just kind of guild societies?
Guild societies. I mean, I think the amount of money that's being raised
it was
is
massive.
fantastic.
I think it's at least 15. Was it 15 grand? I mean, you had written it on your back page, Harry, but
Yeah, we were putting together. I think it's certainly pushing that sort
It's
of figure
pushing
now. I can't remember
15K.
exactly. I mean,
it's so. I think it's pushing 15k already. But yeah, lots of stuff going on. Laurie, yourself?
And we're much higher than that. Sorry, we're
60K.
64,000.
My
Oh yeah,
goodness.
it was 15k for one of the clubs. It was 15k for EURFC. 64,000.
That's off the 21st. So that was 2 days ago as well. So we've still got a week to go. So
That's insane.
That's quite incredible.
Absolutely
so
insane.
well done, to
My
everyone.
friends, get the donations up. Laurie, what have you seen on campus? Sort of, what's jumped out to you as a sort of Movember event?
Plenty of tashes, but I haven't
Yeah.
really seen very many events. I haven't been on
Nice.
campus very much. I've been kind of shut
Deadline
in doing
season?
visiting. Deadline season.
Oh.
Yep.
Project Spec Lit Review.
How's
That's
disco?
been what I've been.
How's disco, my friend?
I submitted it, and my tutor said I'm very excited to read it. And
Oh.
I'm not excited for him to read it.
It's looking
but
good.
We'll see. I
cooking.
had my own little contribution to the kind of Movember donations and sports events. I was part of the Climb Everest social
Nice.
climbing. So
How was that?
That was great fun. They were like, oh, if you go up to the top of the top rope, you get 10 meters. And so my friend instantly went in and did the easiest climb about 45 times.
Nice.
And
As you should.
I tried to have a bit of variety, but in the end, I wasn't as efficient. I only did 210 meters, but we still managed to climb and still managed to technically climb Everest in with about 50 people.
Really?
at different times. If we'd all stood on each other's shoulders, taking over different
Whoa.
points. we
Okay,
could've got
fair.
up
No,
there.
you know what? It's not a bad achievement. Say you climbed Everest, Everest, Stephen. If I get my words out, for crying out loud. James,
Oh,
kind of
well, I mean,
hit me
I'd
with
say
your
I've seen
November memories. I'm
well,
coming
it's
with
been
all the
a lot,
alliterations down
you're
the
making
show.
you're making me stretch my memory back
I
a
am.
full month. You know,
month?
I don't.
Full
Like, I don't even
23
remember.
days.
You get old, James.
I forgot what I had for lunch. I had a sandwich for lunch. That's
Did you?
it.
Nice.
Yeah, Frankfurt sandwich.
Nice
Very
sandwich?
nice. Yeah, it was pretty
Nice.
good.
Why
Nice
are we
homemade.
talking, why are we talking about sandwiches?
Because I've taken the conversation away.
Movember
But even
memories,
so,
go.
back on Movember. But it has been great. Seriously. Doing of course, organising all the Movember events that's been going with X Media, wink,
Yeah.
wink. But also,
Yeah.
of course, getting involved in stuff like bench ball. That was, that was good fun. It was that case of getting involved in stuff I probably would never have been able to. Well, I probably wouldn't have done unless, but I'm sure in some universe Swansea
Sure.
would have nudged me in some way or another. But of course, it's been amazing seeing stuff like Brave the Shave and
Yeah.
seeing all the moustaches around campus.
Definitely.
It's been so encouraging, and I do get that feeling of I don't feel like an idiot, walking around in the funny mustache, because probably the guy next to me is probably has one. It's just like, yeah, how's it going, bro?
Yeah, it's good stuff, isn't it?
Funny mustache.
Yeah. Tom, I've got a question to ask you, and it's this: is it fair to say that it's a festival? Kind of, is Movember a campus festival, as it were? Do you think?
Oh God.
What do you think?
Ooh.
Kind of, is there that atmosphere of sort of like kind of Christmas, Easter, Movember?
No.
That's
can we
proper
call it a festival?
definitions
It's
there.
hard.
You have to get the Oxford Dictionary out here, man.
Yeah,
Just
OED,
define
OED
festival.
moment, definitely.
Like a
OED
demi
moment.
festival.
I definitely
Oh,
think I definitely think it is celebrated in a ways, in some terms,
Yeah.
like a festival. But I don't think you could really. It's not really the most. I don't. It's a cheery thing to do.
Sure.
The events that they do, some of the stuff that they some of the events that they host and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like when you do a festival, it's more of a cheery atmosphere or something on a cheery topic. But men's mental health is quite a serious thing, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, it is. But isn't the whole point
have
of
fun with
Movember?
it, is the
Yeah,
case.
isn't the whole point of Movember that it actually makes it less serious and sort of you sit back and you can not joke, but you can look at it in more of a way that's actually slightly, I don't know, slightly more palatable, let's say. Because I actually think that for lots of guys, I think this includes a lot of us deal with our mental health by laughing at it. I certainly do it. I certainly laugh at myself to help deal with my own mental health as a sort of way of saying, well, if I'm laughing at it, no one else can take the mickey against me and I can't get down about it. So kind of, is that not actually what Movember's about? Sort of trying to be serious but also laugh at yourself as well.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, I think humour is definitely important, especially.
Do we classify Pride as a festival? Then?
I would, yeah, sure.
There's
yeah.
a similarity
I
between
think
the two.
I think this is on the level of Black History Month, Disabled History Month as we had recently, and Pride. I think actually.
Yeah, I'd go as far to say that if we call Pride a festival, then we can
Yeah.
call Movember a festival, because both of them deal with similar things, and there's obviously a bit of darkness in Pride that like it's sometimes you can't express yourself in certain
Yeah, sure.
scenarios, and Pride is all about being able to express yourself in the similar way that Movember is about expressing your mental health,
Yeah.
facing it, shedding some light
Sure.
on it, and having a laugh.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about earlier about the sports clubs, hosting a lot of events. How important do you guys think it is for Movember to have the sports clubs?
I think we quite often, I mean, I'm not someone who particularly participates
No.
in a lot of it.
And
but
also, Expose has got a very good record.
yeah, we've got a
Very
little
good-
bit of a record.
Very
there,
good
haven't
track
we?
record with AU clubs, yeah.
Yeah, we have. But I mean, one of the few societies we haven't offended recently. So
Yes,
you know.
exactly, yeah. Spot on.
But
Expressions yet to annoy most AU clubs yet.
but I think there is some value in the fact that I think we all know, especially in somewhere like Exeter, the stereotypes and culture around Exeter, that the epitome of masculinity and toxic masculinity in some of these clubs
Yeah,
can
sure.
still celebrate.
Yeah, definitely.
Can still celebrate Movember and can still recognise men's mental health. I do have concerns sometimes that it might come across as a bit performative, and I think that's important.
Yeah,
that we
sure.
recognise that this needs.
I
to be
raised this on.
Yeah.
I raised this on the news show that Expression did. I'm going to also talk about this as well on Sunday. We're going to have Leanne from Movember Exeter on the show as well. Kind of for reference, Sunday is 2 days and 2 days time as we're recording this. So
So when people
everything
watch
is
this, it'll be-
yeah.
this is
So
the-
to
this is
everyone
last
watching
year's
this,
footage.
everyone
Actually, but today.
yeah. So to everyone's watching, go on to Expression FM YouTube. It'll be on there. Trust me. So, but. Again, I will raise this point as well, and I think there is that performative element, but I think the performative element actually makes it good in a way because it is over the top in a way that's it has to be over the top, as it were. Does it not?
Definitely, I agree. I think there is an element of it that is I think it's very successful because of the performative nature of it, because
Yes.
it goes over the
Yes.
top, because it, as we've said, that whole festival atmosphere, it takes over campus. I mean, how many
Definitely.
times have we been, I don't know how many times you've been walking through like the Forum or the
Yeah.
Piazza
Yeah.
and seen certain clubs sort of fundraising, doing
Yeah,
activities.
sure.
I saw, just as I was covering a protest today for Expose, and
Yep.
as I was trying to speak to someone and interview someone, in the background I could just see some people being doused in iced buckets water, which was
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know, you
and
see these crazy
Nice.
things going
Last
on.
week you saw people getting pelted at with sponges too. Kind of the I'll go now to the sort of photo sock duo, Oscar, Laurie. Kind of hit me with how important you think it is
I
that
mean-
sports clubs do their job.
I mean, I think that that it's so important that sport is opened up, especially at university, where it can seem very sort of almost like a sort of professional sport. You know,
Well,
when
it
you
is
look at-
basically it's
I
professional.
mean, it is
right, yeah.
professional sport, and I think especially as I am definitely not a sports. I'm not an
That's
athlete.
fine. Don't worry about it.
Um,
I'm
and
not
I
either.
think-
I'm not either, my
And
friend.
I also
I'm
think
not.
sort of the sort of style of opening sport up to people who are not. I mean, I'm not unfit, but I'm not.
Yeah,
a
sure, I
sport. I've
understand
never
that.
been a professional footballer or rugby player, and so I think just allowing and making it sort of easier for people to get into sport, even if it's just to stay fit. And obviously,
Yeah,
as
definitely.
we've talked about, staying fit
Yeah.
is so important for mental health.
Certainly.
It's also the community that you get with the sport.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
sports teams as well.
I know the joke is that benchball's not really a sport, but the community that they build,
It is, by the way.
is brilliant.
Yeah, it's
It
a
is.
great sport.
It is a sport. Chess, but chess isn't a sport, and nor is dance. Don't get it
Oh.
twisted.
Where
Some
does
beef
esports
going
lie?
on there.
What about snooker and pool?
Yes, of course that's a sport.
Oh yeah,
Of course it's a
very
sport.
physically.
Have you not watched the Snooker World Championships? Come on. Snooker World Championships, good fun. I'd love to do snooker commentary one day. I'd love that because you can just talk
Just
down.
waffle on. For
No, well,
hours.
not even
And,
that.
he did. He
Waffle on.
knocked the ball down. his
Waffle
head,
would be
hit the red in,
cricket, where
lovely.
you just talk about everything but cricket for 7 hours, and you talk about cricket for 1 hour over 8 hours. Snooker would be this, and it's a very,
Very
interesting shot,
relaxed.
very relaxed. It's golf, but it's even more relaxed.
Actually, I'd like to do golf one day.
Yeah, golf. There you go. Well, golf club.
I'm a golfer
If
myself.
you're
yeah,
interested,
yeah.
University of Exeter Golf, you're more than welcome. Laurie, yourself, sort of, what jumps out to you in terms of what sports teams have done?
Well, it's like the way the human brain deals with stress and kind of like
Yeah.
any difficulty
Yeah.
is most of the time really helped by sports from a biological element. All we need is kind of some I've forgotten the word, but it's endorphins and kind of
Oh,
adrenaline.
happy chemicals. Yeah,
and
happy
the
chemicals.
Typical kind of happy
Serotonin and all the
chemicals
dopamine, yeah.
that exercise gets your body flowing, and it's a very good way of dealing with mental health. And I think sports, as Oscar said, need to keep it open and not scare people away with the possibility of hazing or tightly knit communities and cliques that they can't fit into. I've had problems trying to integrate into sports societies where I couldn't really fit in because everyone was very kind of set on who their friends were and they weren't expanding their groups. And I think one thing I've spotted that societies have been doing, especially sports societies, is trying to open up a little over the
Yeah,
Movember
definitely.
time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Try and accept people into them, and I think that's
Yeah.
the main thing that you should do, because Movember is like a month of men's mental health, but men's mental health is always a problem for the whole year, and you can't just be open and welcoming to people for just November. You need to make sure that anyone who attends your events and enjoys it gets a chance to come back.
Certainly. James, yourself, sort of, you're someone
Well-
who's sort of adjacent to the sports clubs, as it were. But
At this,
tell me.
At this rate, I feel like it is still that case. I've only really gotten into a lot of the sports clubs, I guess maybe over the last year or two is the case. But I do go to the gym a lot, of course. I don't get an awesome body like this easily. But it's still that case of, it is sort of inspiring just to see sports clubs. It's a similar thing to what we're sort of doing here. It's people using their capabilities to help to support men's mental health. Okay, to do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit and very impressive, just to show anyone can do it. It's almost a case.
Yeah, certainly so. And
Sorry to cut you off, Joe,
Go
but
for
I
it.
think we're forgetting one sports team.
yeah,
Nets
Nets
Media.
Media.
that's media.
The best sports team.
Hey guys, sorry, go on.
Sorry to cut you off. I need a plug.
Very important.
I need a plug
moment.
now.
Very important.
Now, can we just talk about? I mean, of course, we've talked about Sunday Sports Show on. We've
Nets
talked
Media on the
we've talked about
Sunday-
Nets Media on the Sunday Sports Show, and
We've talked about the Sunday
hopefully
Sports
you'll
Show
be
at
joining
Nets
me
Media.
kind of sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later, alongside our amazing captain Sophie Brown. Can we just point out the sporting beauty of Nets Media, my friend? Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, especially one of the teams when they lose, what is it, 22-2?
Yep.
22.
20 26-2.
26-2.
26-2,
26-2 opening day.
We would have been better off not turning up because
Yes.
the walkover is 20-0, so
Yes,
we
you're
actually
right.
would have been better off.
I think it's nice that we're like helping out the other team warm up, for
Oh
the rest
yeah,
of the
sure.
season.
Yeah. There's that. There's that Movember spirit coming in, isn't it, as well?
Love fun.
We're gonna change the tone slightly. We're gonna go to our fourth segment of 5 now, and we're gonna change the tone just a bit, and we're gonna go a bit more serious actually, because I think you need the light, but you also need the dark in many ways. As who was it who said that? It's a very famous painter. It's always popping up on our For You page. Anyways, I can't remember. But you need the light, you also need the dark as well. But an issue that's come up over the last few years, an issue that Harry will be aware of as part of the Expose editorial team, is what the university has done to help mental health and what the university does, or moreover, doesn't do to help. So I think firstly, would you go to university if you were having mental health problems? And kind of what more could the university do if you say no? Because I think that this is the massive issue, and sadly, we've lost way too many students at the University of Exeter to the very sad case that is suicide. But yeah, serious issue now. And Harry,
Yeah.
only talk about what you want to talk about. I
course.
should say that, and kind of we will have this as a trigger warning at the start of this, but sort of we will be discussing themes of self-harm and suicide. So kind of say as much as you want to say, Harry, and anything you say is welcome.
Yeah, so obviously,
Thank you.
anyone who knows Expose very well over the last 12 to 18 months know that particularly last year we were particularly covering the Harry's Law, which was a campaign started by the parents of Harry Armstrong Evans, who sadly took his own life. I believe it was 2019, physics student at the University of Exeter, and certainly exposed a lot of the issues around mental health and wellbeing services, not just at Exeter, I think that's important to reiterate, but at universities across the country. And Expose led the campaign, bringing student newspapers together to campaign for Harry's Law, which I believe would require universities to disclose mental health statistics, suicide statistics when students are applying for universities. I think it is a very tricky question as to whether students feel comfortable to go to the university for wellbeing and mental health issues. I think still there are far too many who don't. We've been working on a few articles recently that we're hoping to look at putting out in the next few years about the just the lack of students who feel comfortable formally or informally or in any way reporting incidents on campus, whether they are well-being or whether they are something involving other students, such as homophobia, racism issues such as that. And I think that's something that the university does need to improve. I think there is an awareness of that in the university. Actually, we've been having some very interesting conversations with some people who are working on some new ideas just to try and reinforce the university's wellbeing systems. But I think it's something that needs to really be strengthened. I think we saw in the pandemic how young people's mental health was not necessarily given the importance in our society that it needs to be. And I think that is something that we are becoming very aware of in the following years, is the impact that that's had. I mean, on a personal note, I personally would find it incredibly difficult to go to someone at the university for mental health support. I don't know how many other people would agree that I personally would feel much more comfortable going to friends and family, and perhaps that is slightly an indictment on the university that they should have the well-being support that main students feel comfortable and have that place to go to when they need support.
Exactly. And of course, the interesting thing is that there is no duty of care legally for universities, because technically we're adults, even if we all think we're all kids, and sort of we're all sort of grown up 15-year-olds that sort of somehow magically left secondary school and now are at uni. Technically, we are adults in the legal sense of the law. There is no obligation, in theory, for duty of care. Anyone else who wants to talk, you're more than welcome to jump in now. Sort of, would you feel comfortable, or if you feel comfortable, have you approached the university in issues when you've had mental health problems? And if you didn't, why not? Please tell us.
We're just going straight for the deep questions.
Yeah, no, we are.
I mean, the
Gotta
case
go for deep
is
questions, because it's a big issue. It's a big issue.
I mean, like, the cases when it comes to the university's mental health services, I have pretty much very little experience with it.
Yeah.
Like, the closest I've had is my probably my personal tutor, who is actually amazing, by the way. I just want to shout her out.
Shout out to all the personal tutors. Shout out.
But I've heard people complain that their personal tutors can be quite absent, but mine has been absolutely brilliant. She's always, given the odd, you got the email saying, reminding people, hey, I'm here, I'm always ready for a talk, here's my link to my office hours, please come along, welcome to talk about anything, course, this or that. And when I do, she's always there ready to, be like, oh yeah, if you need help, I can always, I'm always willing to, give you recommendations for this or that, or, oh, you're doing this project, oh, I can give you, I can refer you to some people who are actually experts in it, who are like pretty well in this field, stuff like that. And it's always, she's one of those people always great to talk to, as the case. And it does remind you, there are people in this university and part of the wellbeing services who care, who are very well involved and very good at their job. And I don't want to immediately scare off everyone by, the bad cases. There are still good cases.
There are. Tom, do you feel comfortable commenting on this issue, or do you want me to comment instead?
Oh, I can comment, but
Okay. I just want to make sure that everyone is kind of comfortable talking about this first.
I've got really no experience at all with the wellbeing service that they offer at the
Is
university.
that because you didn't approach them out of choice, or just because you didn't feel the need to?
Didn't feel the need to. I think you were saying, Harry, wasn't it? You would reach out to family and friends, and I'm completely in the same boat. I'm very grateful and very lucky that I have very good friends that I'm very close with. I can talk to them about anything, really, as well as my family. I feel like that's probably more. I don't know. It depends. If like the wellbeing service offers like a therapy as opposed to like a family or friend to someone that
sure.
You're not paying for their services. They're doing that because they love you.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's completely different as opposed to something that you're paying for.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know if they charge you or you don't. You just turn up to an appointment.
No, you're not charged. I mean, I have more awareness of than most of this, and I will kind of. Here's my story, at least, because you know what, I think we're all about trying to be open in terms of what we think about these things. I'm going to make sure I'm not overblowing the speakers, and I'm not overblowing the speakers. It's quite difficult to tell, really, when I'm being too loud or not. But I have more experience than most dealing with the university on this level. Many people on this table who are aware of this had an acute breakdown earlier on this year, of which I'm now in a recovery from. I have been I'm now on the way to recovery. Well, firstly with the help of therapy and also with the help of medication. So that's helping me along. The fact I'm able to talk to you now is, well, quite frankly, due to that medication, due to that help I got. So kind of if a few things had happened a different way, I might not be here in this room. And that sounds stupid to say, but that's the way that life goes. And I'm never going to front up in a conversation about this, because you need to tell the facts, you need to tell them straight. So on that level, I had meetings with wellbeing after I was taken in by a friend, and they immediately dealt with the situation as it were, and immediately dealt with what was a dangerous situation at the time. But this is the thing: I only went there because a friend insisted on it. I didn't go there by my own choice because this is the thing. If you're in that situation where you are going to hurt yourself or do anything stupid to yourself, you are not going to reach out on your own accord. You won't. So firstly, that's the main problem here, is that in no way is there any outreach to students. It's come to us if you want to. There's no outreach. Many people are suffering right now on this campus who are suffering and are getting no help because the university is sitting there and waiting for you to roll into that door. And I can tell you something. If you're somebody having an acute mental health illness, severe depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, compulsive disorder, you are not going to walk into a wellbeing office and say, I need help. You won't. Because I'll say this, it took me 8 months to stomach the courage to say to a friend of mine that I was feeling low. So can you imagine me talking to someone I've never met in my life? Can you imagine this? So that's your first problem. And I'm sorry if this becomes a sort of monologue, but it has to be to a certain degree. Secondly, at the university, all you can do is book a 20-minute meeting. And then they say, we can't do that, go to NHS TalkWorks. Now, let's just go through the sort of mental gymnastics of that. So there you are, you're having a severe sort of mental episode, and then they say, oh, you know what? Go to NHS, go through the doctors and they'll help you out. Well, that's not terrifying at all, is it? That isn't terrifying whatsoever, is it? So then you've got that. And then you've got the other point, which is that they can't do much. Only they can do is refer you to TalkWorks. I have nothing but the utmost respect to the people at Wellbeing because, quite frankly, they saved my life. And I have my utmost respect to them. However, they can only do so much. And it's tragic to see the passing of someone like Harry Armstrong Evans, somebody who was a bright spark and obviously much loved by his family who've now launched their campaign in his memory. And any life lost due to suicide is a tragedy on its own level. However, the university has to do better because the fact that I'm standing here shows they have some level of support. But in many ways, is someone else going to be as lucky as I've been? Perhaps not. Because I'll tell you something, and this is not to shock anyone, this is not to sort of get people upset, but I can say this because I'm past it now, but a few things have changed and I'm not in this room. A few things change, a few chance phone calls, a few chance text messages, and I'm not in this room. And that is the bottom line of this. Sorry to get serious, my friends. Sorry to get serious, but if a few things change, you would have heard about this on an expose news story, and it wouldn't be a pretty story. It wouldn't have been a pretty story. I'll say that again. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing my story, and I will sort of say them out again at the end of the show. But again, if you have been troubled by any of these stories, remember Samaritans are open 24/7, 116 123. They're my first port of call, and they should be your first port of call if you are in any mental distress. Tom, I want you to introduce our final section of our Movember special, and it's going to be a really special one too.
So moving on to our last segment of today's show, everyone knows Movember is about men's mental health, but we need to really sit back and look at the people that we look up to, our male role models. So I'll open up for everyone, but I'll probably start with you, James.
Oh wow. Okay.
Straight in the deep end.
Straight in the deep end.
Straight in the deep end.
Who are your male role models?
Well,
you know?
that could be a very long list. You know, I could be.
Who jumps to mind at first, though? Who jumps to mind? First point in your head, and you go,
"Oh, just
this
like
person."
Oh well, I'd probably say either. Well, no, both actually. But probably my brother and my dad. Okay, they've been. I know, easy.
But tell me why. Tell me why.
Oh well, I mean, obviously, just two of the men I could always turn to at any point in my entire life so far. You know, they're always there to support me, always helping me out. You know, they've always been those figures I look up to. You know, always, and I always think I want to be like them a bit. You know, if you're watching this now, don't think I'm trying to copy you. You know, I am my own person and all that jazz. Don't. But yeah, even still, they are those people. They're those two I've hanged out with a lot. I always call every week. Well, I say I call my dad, I call my mum, and then my dad's usually
Yes.
on the call. But we're talking about male role models
He just
here.
floats in like a ghost, doesn't he?
Floats
in like
floats in,
Casper.
comes in. Oh, you've been watching Invincible recently? Yeah, of course I have. Come on.
Watch the Marvels. It's a great movie.
No, I don't think either of us are going to end up watching that. I'm kidding.
Good idea. Good idea. But
Sorry, that's topics to say for Behind the Scenes with James Allen Saturdays at 12
Award-winning
o'clock.
show.
Yes, the James Allen Award for.
Yes.
But I guess like another group I'd say as like a male role model would be my boys, my friends from home, who are just the people I talk all sorts of rubbish with. But they're the people who tolerate it at the end of the day.
When you said your boys, I thought you meant you had kids. I was like, that was news to
what?
us.
No, not there.
Don't forget the boys.
Oh yeah. Well, if I end up having kids, they'll be on there.
Homelander
somewhere,
reference, the boys.
Well, of course, yeah, exactly.
Homelander
Well, not Homelander reference.
Great
That's
show.
the boys reference.
Or Genevieve, whatever. Still.
No, that's they're my homies. Okay.
Good on you. So-
and it is just those
So,
people you can
shout
talk
out.
rubbish with. That's it. That's sort of just the people you need. Just the kind of person who are willing just to put up with whatever you're willing to say.
Yeah. So shout out to James's dad and brother, Laurie.
I'd first need to start by apologizing to James because I was not laughing at you when you said it was your brother and your dad.
No,
'Cause
that's all
I was
right,
about
that's
to say
okay.
almost the exact
No,
same.
I
don't have
completely
a-
forgive you for it.
Go
I
for
don't
it.
have a brother, but I do have a dad, and I respect him with every fiber of my body, and I know he's been through a lot. And
Why do you respect him?
just because I know like a lot of the stuff that happened to him. He didn't have a nice family
Yeah.
situation. He was badly bullied,
Yeah.
and he still ended up with one of the most caring and wonderful people I've
That's
ever
a
known.
beautiful story.
And it's so painful to hear stories of people going through like trauma and
Yeah.
becoming a worse person for it. And my dad's just evidence that you can go through a lot of bad stuff, and you can still come through as a very well-rounded person who can bounce back. And I think it's very inspiring for me. And my only other person who I'd say is a role model, or at least somebody I respect a lot, is my friend in first year, who I'm not going to name,
Okay.
but he attempted to take his life
Did he?
during first term, and he managed to bounce back from it. He came to me and asked for some assistance, and me and all my entire friend group tried to help him. And it wasn't really us who did it. He did most of the heavy lifting, and he's still with us, and I'm still friends with him to this day, and I really
You are-
respect him for that.
You are an amazing human being. You should know that, honestly.
Oh yeah, also, well done
Honestly,
to
but you should know that. Seriously, because the people that helped me out were people like this guy right here. And they were there when I needed it. So thank you for being there for him. And if you are watching this, which you might be, thank you for sticking around, my friend. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for sticking around, because I want to see you tomorrow morning. Oscar.
Thank you.
Your
So
role model.
after-
Go for it.
That's a
Go
heavy,
for it.
heavy
Go
one.
for it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
I definitely.
it's a heavy topic, kind of punctuated with laughter, but it's a heavy topic nonetheless. But
Also
Oscar,
time to
yourself.
think as well.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I'd say following on all the above, my family, my friends, and I also want to say all the sort of the teachers sort of helped me over the years, all my tutors.
Yeah.
My
Teachers are underrated for that
like-
kind of mentorship.
my people who helped me fly, all those people who are super amazing in my life. Yeah, and I also, I back in early on in school, a long time ago, back in year 10, I did lose a friend. It was a long time ago, and I think sort of through that, it taught me the importance of mental health.
Yeah.
And I think ever since then, I've been super conscious to sort of, talk to friends if anything's
Definitely.
going wrong and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for being so open as well. Harry, could
Yeah.
have tell me who your role models are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always a slightly more difficult question. I feel like a lot of the role models in my life have always been women.
Yes, okay,
whether
yeah,
that's
sure.
my mother or my mum, I should say,
Yeah, go
or
for it.
my
So
female
formal.
friends.
So
I
formal,
know,
mother,
but
yeah.
actually, I feel like I should, like the rest of the panel, I really want to say my dad as well.
Yes.
For those who I don't know who know, I haven't really shared this a lot with a lot of people
Yeah,
beyond close friends. My dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few years ago, and he's been, after a few years where he was a bit arrogant,
Yeah.
as we all are when we receive news like that and believe, no, that's not, I haven't got that. He accepted it and moved on, and is, you know, is really, really coping well with it right now, it being a disease that is not curable. But actually, then not to get all trauma dumpy, but then earlier this year, my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer. Thankfully, now been given the all clear, which is really heartening. But I know, you know, incredibly hard for my dad to deal with that. For myself as well. It happened over the summer, and it was an incredibly difficult time for us to deal with as a family. I'm very incredibly close with both my parents. But actually, the mental tenacity my dad showed in getting my mum to every appointment and helping out was just incredible. I also want to say, as others have said, friends. I've got an incredibly tight-knit group of friends at home that we've been friends for such a long time. Pub trips every week whenever we're all at home, and I think it was the last time I was home over reading week. I'll paraphrase this because it may have been a bit more expletive, Phil, but and maybe a few words that I can't repeat on air. But one of my friends said something to the effect of, this group of lads, we've never gone out with the intention of, you know, causing mayhem or being offensive or doing awful things. You know, I hear a lot of male friend groups that are incredibly toxic have most disgusting misogynistic attitudes in particular, something I really cannot accept. And actually said, you know what, we just go and have a great night. We mess around, we do some weird stuff sometimes, you know, but that's part of what being a group of lads is. And I want to say that they are incredibly, you know, an incredibly strong group of mates, particularly my best friend Dom, who's currently up in London at uni, and my other friend my other best friend Amon, who you know, a lot of, it's a little thing sometimes. Whenever we're at home together, going on walks together, and actually just chatting and being open with one another. And I think that has been incredibly powerful, because as men, I think it's quite hard to open up to other men sometimes, which is the point of Movember. But around that group of friends at home, I've always felt willing to open up, and I think that's incredibly powerful.
Certainly. Tom, me and you co-authored, hopefully an award-winning article, but
Absolutely.
I won't spoil any. I won't spoil any nominations for the SPANCs. I don't feel like it's sort of good for air to say the abbreviation of that all of us say. But Tom, you co-authored an article with me, your first article for Expose, and a beautiful article itself. And kind of talk me through who your three role models were.
So for the Expose article, I listed my main three as David Goggins, my granddad, and my dad. David Goggins being this Navy SEAL. You know, he came from basically nothing. His book is absolutely inspiring. His life in general was absolutely inspiring and completely changed mine for the best. I remember reading it in 2020, the year before I came to uni from COVID.
Came to COVID, wait.
I had to take a year out to actually save up to come to uni myself. I had to pay for my first year of tuition. And I never had like any willpower, not willpower, I mean, we all have willpower, but I never had any desire or any, you know, ambition in life. And I think his book really showed me that the best way to do that is through, you know, pushing yourself, getting out of your comfort zone. I know it's such a cliche you see on social media all the time, but it really, he really taught me that you can seriously come from nothing to something. And it's an absolutely beautiful story he tells. My granddad and my dad, they've been there with me for my whole entire life, you know, always taking care of me. My granddad's, I still remember when we were younger, he would take me to watch trains and trying to get me to speak better, because I've always struggled speaking, you know, as a kid. I couldn't speak from like a young age, I think it was, and he'd always try and get me to get better at pronouncing words. So yeah, there's stories like that, and then his care the way he cares for me since I've been at uni. You know, he's always seen me every couple months. I got to see him for my birthday, which I'm very grateful for. I still remember telling him that I wasn't doing anything for my birthday, and he said, "I'm putting a stop to that. You're coming over to us to have some lunch." So, yeah. And
Love that.
And then there's my dad. My dad, the man who he's provided for me, put a roof over my head, works 60 to 70 hours a week. You know, not the most fulfilling job. You know, get up at 5 o'clock, getting home at 5 o'clock, working in London as a carpenter. Not the most satisfying job, as they say.
Wow.
But you know, I really appreciate what he's done for me.
Certainly.
He's definitely taught me the importance of humour that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely dedicate, well, not dedicate, but where I get my humour from is mostly from him.
Well,
So, yeah.
he did. Well, he's done a pretty good job. I'll give my three role models then. I will start off with my dad as well. Person of real stoic bravery, and just somebody who is vulnerable when he needs to be, and then when he doesn't need to be vulnerable, he isn't. And then he just plays it down the line. Somebody who's been very open with me in terms of his struggles as a young man and as a young adult as well. And I don't think I've seen anybody be so caring for me when I opened up to them, because as I can mention it on, I alluded to, I had a long period of suicidal thoughts, and my parents had no idea, and I've never seen love from somebody like that. And I'll try my hardest not to cry. I've never seen love from somebody quite like that, and I'm just immensely grateful to him. I'm also immensely grateful for giving me the gift of cricket as well, because he carted me alongside my mum, carted me around the Sussex Cricket League for about 10 years, and took me to my first training session at 8 years old, which was arguably one of the best gifts I probably could have got, because I've played cricket ever since, and there's nothing better than a good game of cricket. I can see Harry nodding along there to my right. My second hero, and I was hero, is my granddad. It's somebody who I've mentioned a lot on the air. Actually, I've mentioned them a lot on there. I've mentioned them on my podcast, mentioned them on sports shows, and I think if anyone knows John Ratcliffe, then they know he is an amazing person. Somebody who left a broken home after doing his qualifications with a maths qualification, broken home, divorced parents, abusive dad. Doesn't really know what it means to be loved, as it were. Leaves, becomes an apprentice mechanic, as he puts it, sweeps up when no one else can be bothered, and then in the space of 7 years, he's one of the youngest people in the country running a car garage at the age of 24, with a maths qualification. 5 years later, he is then running 2 garages at once, and he's been promoted to basically being the MD for one of the largest groups in the whole country. And then 10 years after that, he is then running 6 garages at once in one of the biggest dealership groups in the whole of the Southeast, and arguably nationally at the time, selling Fords, and he's forever a Ford man. He is the reason why I have been able to be a car person, because ever since I was a pint-sized 4-year-old, he just sat me down, talked to me about cars, talked about the history, and how cars changed his life, because cars gave him, they gave him the chance to meet his wife at a tyre shop, and gave him the chance to have a loving family and 2 loving daughters, one of which is my mum. And I feel a particular affinity towards him, as I'm his only grandson. I'm his only grandson, and even if I don't have the same surname, even if I have the Terry surname from a certain Warren Terry, the Ratcliffe name is one very close to my heart as well. And these days, I get very upset about the thought of losing him, because I'm not there to be with him. And when I see him now, it is incredibly, incredibly special. I went to go to a classic car show with him in Easter. I've never seen someone's face smile up so much, because he was saying to me, "Look, I had this car when I was your age," and cars. That is why my dream job is to be an automotive journalist, because honestly, I think he'd have nothing prouder than that, really, to have someone who was as much petrol head as he was, and cars saved his life. And for me, cars are more than just shells of metal, rubber, and tyres. My third person is somebody who sadly isn't able to listen to this, and that will be my Uncle Claudio. Oh, bugger. Let's not cry. My Uncle Claudio, somebody who we lost far too soon at the age of 52 due to stomach cancer, and somebody who was a carpenter by trade, funny enough. Another carpenter on this list as well. Somebody who came from northern Italy, from Bologna, and came to England, came to call Eastbourne his home. A carpenter by trade who would sit me down as a young kid and read through Italian articles and translate it to me and tell me about all these people he's talking about. Marco Di Vaio playing for the mighty Rosso Blu of Bologna. And you never saw him grimace, never saw him upset, smiling all the time, happy to be in England with his wife that he met in Bologna when they were both 18, and just loving his family. We lost him far too soon, and Yeah, it is a very sad moment of my life, and I wish he could see what I've done at this station, because I'm sure he'd find nothing greater than me doing sports radio, because I'm sure he'd love it. I still carry his Bologna with me to this day. Any friends of mine will know, or at least members of the Expression Sport team will be aware that I sometimes put the odd message in the chat kind of saying "Die Rosso Blue" or "Great win for Bologna," because I still support them to this day, and it's quite nice because these days the anthems that they play around the stadium are actually now deeply sort of linked to me. And if I ever miss him, I just chuck on "L'Etuali Bologna" and I just belt that in full Italian for 3 minutes and belt it like there's no tomorrow. And I just sing that song in full Italian, even though I know no Italian. I know absolutely no Italian apart from those 3.5 minutes of song. And I think there's only one thing to say. It's the same thing I did for my expose article. So you will know what I'm going to do, Harry. But I have to finish off in his own language, which would be "Grazie mille, Claudio. Ci amo. Seppe sempre con me. Dai rosso blu. Forza Bologna. E ci amo. Ci amo insieme. I love you forever. You're always with me. Come on, the champions Bologna. And long live the Rosso Blue. We're going to end on that note, Tom. I want to thank everyone around this room for having, I think, what is going to be one of the best shows I've ever done on this station. And thank you. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, James. And Tom, I want you to play us out and give us the outro to our viewers and listeners. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it, James. Go for it, Tom.
Oh,
James.
well, if you want me to.
Not you.
No,
Go for it, Tom.
Go on, Tom.
Play us out, because
So you're trying to say
for
goodbye.
somebody's first programme, you have smashed it today. And play us out.
Thank you to everyone who's watching back at home, and thank you to everyone that's listening at home as well, or wherever you're listening to. This has been your X Media Movember Talk 2023, brought to you in the Expression FM studio and by XTV, joined by X Media.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.